Hey everybody, welcome to Technically Unraveled. I'm Kristen Fehrenbach, the Senior Director of Microsoft Go-to-Market here at Pax8. Thanks so much for joining us today. But before we get too far into the session, I do want to remind you to please like, share, subscribe, do all those great things. We're going to continue to bring you great content. Want to make sure that you stay up to date as well. So today we're going to talk a lot about Microsoft security with Dom Kirby, who's actually one of the hosts on the game. But before we dive in there, we always want to start with some important updates. So first, we have a monthly reoccurring Microsoft webinar that is now going to be live for registration. The next one's going to be March 6th. So please make sure that you're registering for that. We want to make sure that you're getting all of those consistent updates. I know we're going to talk about GDAP. We're going to talk about Bam Boom Cloud again. We've got lots of really important stuff coming. So please make sure that you register. Second, we've talked a little bit about the Azure abusive consumption. So this is a really important topic, and we actually put together an academy course. So big shout out to that team. Thank you so much for putting this together with us. So this course, super, super important that you go through it. It's going to just help you mitigate some of those risks. Want to make sure that you have the most updated information to make sure that you're not one of these people that are getting caught up in some things you probably don't want to. Next, we have the Microsoft Intune Suite. It is going to be GA March 1st. So want to make sure if you're interested in that, we've got all of these links down in the description below. Lots of new stuff that's coming out in Intune. So I know Jake and I would talk about that pretty often. So we'll probably have him back on to rediscuss some of this. But it's really just the suite is going to provide a set of advanced endpoint management capabilities. My God, I had to really lean in there, guys. Okay. Moving on, so Azure and Dynamics demystification. If you've not signed up for the one tomorrow, it's with Dynamics. Matt Batterby is going to be there. Please make sure you join. I know there's a lot of hype around Pax8 plus Bam Boom Cloud. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but Matt Batterby is going to be your guy tomorrow. So please make sure you're registering. Links down below. Lastly, and this is going to be a good lead into Dom and his team, but Pax8 has Azure migration funds that are available globally. So if you're a partner that says, hey, I might have a project that fits into this bucket for an Azure migration, please reach out to your account team. We have funding that could be available depending on some specific qualifications, but want to make sure that we are making that readily available to you, North America, APAC, and EMEA. So Dom, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time to hop in from the game to make the crossover to Technically Unraveled.
What up? I know Pax8 Live's growing up. We're doing crossover episodes now. It's fantastic.
I know. So if somebody's not met you, tell us a little bit about what you do here at Pax8.
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Cloud Services. So I run pro services for Pax8 here in the Americas. I also host the game. You'll see me at boot camps, you'll see me at industry events. I will yell at you nonstop about cybersecurity until we get better at it.
I enjoy that. Look, I don't leave my computer unlocked anymore. We're really just growing.
I know. See, the yelling works. It's a really effective strategy.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. So you've been at Pax8 for how long now?
Ooh, 3 years and some change.
3 years. Yeah. You've probably had to give 3 million fun facts, but I want a fun fact, Dom.
Oh, I wasn't ready for the fun fact. This is unfair. I'm terrible at the fun facts. So I'm going to cheat and just go back to my default of what got me here is I have run several businesses over the course of my life. So I did internet marketing as a kid, made money on affiliate marketing back when you could take advantage of not take advantage. Back when consumers were less able to find information about products and you could cross-sell pretty easily. And I grew into technology and I actually ran an MSP for 5 years and I came here to do exactly what I'm doing today. So my fun fact is I've run several different kinds of businesses, but MSP has been the most challenging, but also the most favorite business I run.
Okay, that was definitely a relevant fact. I don't know how fun it was, so we're going to circle back to the fun here in a minute. We're going to get you to play those drums behind you.
Oh, no.
No drums
They're not
today?
plugged
Okay.
in. Sorry, can't do it.
Good.
Yep.
Next time. Okay, so we brought you on because I want to talk about Microsoft being a security company? Do you consider Microsoft a security company, quote unquote, here?
You know, at one point, I think the answer would have been no. And I think if you would have asked anyone, the answer would have been no. But I think the investments we've seen Microsoft make in security have really established a foothold, much to the point where they've become a $20 billion security company, right? In terms of annual revenue from their line of security products. And they've really expanded that across. We have a graphic to kind of show the depth of what Microsoft has introduced in terms of security products, and it's pretty massive. So if we take a look here, you see Defender, you see Sentinel, you see Entra, you see Purview and Priva. That's I still suck at that word.
Say those back to back over and over. That's going to be helpful, isn't it?
I do. I have to say it back to back all the time. So they've launched this massive line of security products that covers that entire modern cloud ecosystem, right? And it's created a lot of interesting benefits. And we can check out the next graphic to kind of talk through some of that. And these came straight from Microsoft's, blog posts. They're super excited about reaching $20 billion, which you can't blame them. And I want to call out a couple stats here. So 65 trillion signals. Now, a signal is a piece of intelligence, right? Something occurs on your Windows endpoint. Microsoft isn't sure about it. They send that signal to the security graph and analyze what happened. And then it gets added back into intelligence to make smarter intelligence decisions in the future, right? They do that every day, right? And I would venture a guess that many industrial intelligence agencies do not analyze that much cybersecurity data. The next I want to call out is 70
that's with a T.
trillion.
So that's insane.
Every 24 hours. Yeah.
Gosh.
And that's every Windows device, every activity on the Microsoft cloud, right? All combined into one, and they take that intelligence and they feed it back into the products. Right. So anytime something happens,
this is just going to continuously elevate everything that Microsoft's doing in the security realm.
Yeah. Every second of every day. Yep. And that leads to, there's some more specific stats. So 70 billion email-borne threats processed in a single year, right? That's a huge amount of the total email threats that occur in the world in a year. So again, every time they see one, they get a little bit smarter about preventing them. And then the final call out is this 2.75 million number. And you'll really, we don't have time to dive through what that means, but so definitely check out the blog, the link's in the description. But if you dive through it, Microsoft has a team that fights cybercrime, right? They work with federal agencies, global agencies, state agencies, all of them, right? And they help fight cybercrime. And they've actually been able to prevent domain name registrations. They'll obviously tear down Azure infrastructure if they need to. They can respond extremely rapidly to large scale and small scale cybersecurity events. So you'll see them come out with stories with CISA. You'll see them come out with stories with other governments. They're part of a bunch of key Interpol stories. So for me, it's just that involvement in the community in cybersecurity that gets me excited.
And here's the thing is that we talk a lot about, how much, these E5 costs, how much business premium costs, how much some of these costs. But when you see the 60% reduction in savings, I think that that's huge because right now things are a little iffy. We totally get it. People are looking to optimize, they're looking to do these things, and Microsoft has the tools and resources to be able to do it. But I want to dive into a couple of them specifically because Jake and we talked a little bit about Defender in one of the previous episodes, but it's really Defender and Purview that are sticking out to me that I want you to just kind of do a quick rundown with us.
Yeah. So I think if we rewind, one of the things Microsoft's not great at is product naming. So they pick a name and then they change it and they change it and they change it. And then you come out with a new product, and now that new product has this new product. So let's kind of
with
set
an acronym for this one and that one, and 6 more acronyms in the middle. Yeah,
it's wild. Yeah. So if we look at all up, they've really done a good job with this new set of branding, and I really hope it sticks. So Defender defends, right? So we have identify, and protect, or defend, right? So Defender, you and Jake covered this really well. You've got Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Business, which is that EDR type product. You've got Defender for Cloud, which protects cloud workloads across all the big three. You've got Defender for Identity, which protects your Azure AD identities. And you've got Defender for Cloud Apps, which protects third-party SaaS and cloud application workloads, which is really cool. But if we let's just narrow it down and talk about Defender for Office and Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Business. So Defender for Endpoint is an enterprise-grade EDR. It's, really just sort of king of the world in what it's capable of across any platform. Defender for Business is a much more scaled down version of that. You don't need to be a threat hunting expert to take advantage of it. You don't necessarily need to integrate into like Microsoft Sentinel to achieve results with it. Pairing that with Defender for Office creates this really cool ecosystem where I'm able to have integration and understand what's going on across the environment, right? I can understand if a threat comes in from email and detonates on endpoint 327. That's a Windows 11 machine. It's a little bit behind on patching, and it has 4 open CVEs because it's not yet patched, right? That power is massive, right? And then if we look at where the ecosystem's going, it's more about integration and management at scale. So if obviously most MSPs don't have an in-house analyst team, and I certainly wouldn't encourage you to hire one because it's expensive to stand up an analyst
when
team.
everybody's trying to slim down cost. I mean, I don't think that's the time to
Right.
go out and start hiring all these people, but the product will do it. And I mean, that's incredible.
Right. Well, to push that data to your SOC as service. So if you're using, just Pillar as an example, you can push that data out to them and they can act on it on your behalf. So you don't need to have that
Excellent.
analyst expertise.
Goodness. Okay. So Defender, I mean, there's just so much within Defender. And I think that you do a really good job breaking that down for us, because not everybody needs everything A to Z. Sometimes, obviously, if they can go into, say, Business Premium and toggle on Defender, I mean, how much more secure are they doing that versus not?
Yeah, I mean, you could stand up Defender, I would say about 15, 20 minutes, right? Assuming you already have your machines enrolled in Intune, it's a very quick product to roll out. And they're pretty consistently meeting in about the top 5 security products. And I hate AV test reports and analyzing reports because they're not very good. But if we really look at the broad spectrum, we do use that data. They're all within a fraction of a point of each other on average, right? So it's 5 of the top products boxing for the technically top spot. So I always look from an operational perspective. And for me, the operations of Defender make life really easy. That quick turn up, that quick capture of data across my cloud ecosystem are 2 of the main drivers that would send me that direction if I was looking.
Awesome. So when we look at Purview, what specific customer base would really be looking and benefiting from this?
Yeah, so Purview is all about sort of data protection, right? So Defender protects workloads, Defender protects endpoints. Purview is about data, right? So if you've been using Azure Information Protection, it's now Purview Information Protection. So you can see where I'm going with this naming nonsense.
That good old name change again.
Yeah, exactly. So Purview is all about protecting data. So it's got your Azure Information Protection for labeling and understanding what data you have. It has data loss prevention. So data loss prevention has now been pulled into that Purview stack, and they can work together, right? I can have DLP see that some piece of sensitive information, maybe it's a health record, is trying to leave the environment, and it can apply encryption instead of just block it, or it can do a lot of cool different things based on the context of what you're trying to do. And then if we get really deep into Purview, if we do get into that E5 stack, which again, most of SMBs aren't just going to need it unless there's some regulatory reason, but I can start to do some really deep understanding of what kind of data I hold. And I can start to tie that back to automatically classifying data, knowing where it's stored, reporting on where it's stored, understanding if it tries to leave the organization. So I can do a lot of work with data in Purview. And then I'm going to segue off the Rena show for just a second because we have Priva, which is kind of the new kid on the
Here
block.
we go.
And it's a goofy one because we just chopped the CY off the word privacy and called it Priva, but whatever. Priva can tie into Purview, and its whole purpose is to understand literally how much personal information and privacy violating information do I have in my environment. So think about
That's
GDPR
huge.
and the need to understand your data. Priva will do that and surface potential problems of you collected 400 email addresses where you're not supposed to be storing that.
Or, hey, you have credit card numbers, you've got this, you've got that. I think that is just such a benefit to be able to quickly be able to go in saying, hey, there's this much risk. What are we doing? What can we make sure that we're optimizing? So I think that you bring up a great point, because if I look at the security product market holistically, outside of Microsoft only even, are there specific ones that stand out that you're saying, hey, this is one that you need to be looking at? Or are they all so close?
I think I always take the top 4 or 5 products. It really depends on the segment. And I make those my candidates. I don't want the one that misses 60% of threats. So it's pointless, right? I don't want the one that misses 10% of threats. But I think the first thing to understand is 100% security does not exist. It is not a real thing. I don't care whose marketing team says what, it does not exist, right? If they tell you that, they lied. Sorry, it just is what it is. So, for me, my top products right now that I'm going to look at for endpoints are going to be the SentinelOnes of the world, the Defender for endpoints of the world, the Bitdefender EDRs of the world. And I'm going to look at them from an operational lens, right? And what I mean by that is I need to be able to put humans to work on these tools. Tools only do part of it, right? If we look at a security framework, tools is like the smallest thing we're dealing with, buying the cool gadgets and deploying them. Great. Can I operate them at scale in line with my business? So I'll take those top 5 across my stack: email protection, endpoint protection, et cetera. And I'll make sure that I can operate on all of them in a cohesive manner, right? So for me, the ones that stack up real high in that category are going to be like SentinelOne does a really great job at threat management, especially if you get comfortable with the MITRE attack framework. Defender does, we just kind of talked about it, their integration across products. Avanan is another really great candidate that does a really good job making you understand the context of a threat and not just like, hey, something happened.
It's like, why does that matter that this specific thing happened? So that's great.
Yeah.
So, okay, we obviously all of these vendors that we talk about, they are on our line card, but Dom, you were an MSP. This is what you used to do. What would make you choose one over the other?
Yeah, not to repeat myself, but it's definitely operations, right? Again, it's very easy to chop options off, right? If they don't meet standards, they don't have a great channel program, I don't have a way to get support for that product, it doesn't integrate across my line of protection, right? I'm going to chop those off right away. When I'm going into operations, I have to look at every product change I make is a huge investment, particularly if I'm an MSP that's seen some growth and maybe I have 20 or 30 customers and maybe, I don't know, 5 people on staff. It's a massive investment to change tools, right? I have to change the tools, take out the old ones, put out the new ones. Then I have to train my team. I have to rewrite policies potentially around how I operate those tools. So the first thing I'm going to look for is if I need to make a change, why am I making a change, right? Is it shiny toy syndrome and I need to stop what I'm doing right now? Or is there a problem with my existing stack or something I feel I need to improve? And then I'm going to look at
We've
the
always seen those
operational
IT people where they get very excited and something's shiny
Well,
over
one of
here.
them.
And so we're going to change a bunch
Yeah.
of things. I know you are. I've seen you. So
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you stop that from happening to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to commit to this. And I think it's going to be a longevity thing with this product.
Yeah. I mean, I would make sure you change them for the right reason and then make sure that the way the tool set you're going to pick operates with each other. All the different tools you're going to use need to operate with each other, whether you're pulling data in somewhere else or they just integrate. And then, is this the way I want to operate for a long period of time, right? I don't want to change because the operations suck. I want to understand the operations and then implement the tool if it works.
Got it. I think that's key. And look, you're part of the ProServe team. You run that team. And, we've got Modern Work, we've got Azure. What can your Pax8 ProServe team do to help partners enable security? Because whether you go with, obviously I want you to go with Defender, guys, but whether you go with whatever security option it is, there needs to be security enabled. So what can we do through Pax8 ProServe?
So I think an important thing to understand about pro services is that we're not a cybersecurity firm, right? So I'm not going to have a team that makes security decisions for you. And I'll be totally blunt and transparent here, and legal's going to let me for it. I don't want you to sue me if it goes wrong, right? But I think if we look at
Tyler's
also,
somewhere in his office clapping right now.
Definitely, I think I hear him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we look at holistically what we can do, really, we will help you implement tools to your specifications, and we'll advise against frameworks. You will not see an episode of the game, well, maybe, but you probably haven't seen an episode of the game where we didn't say the word framework. It's because we believe in them. So if we look at your frameworks, we operate against the CIS controls, so we'll help you align towards different controls, particularly in that modern work in Azure space. Aside from that, we will help you migrate into Azure. We'll help you migrate into modern work. We'll help you turn on those tools. Internally, we call them the server recycling projects. We do a ton of getting you into that Intune Azure AD SharePoint ecosystem.
Sure. And I know that it's funny. Every time I have you on or talk to you and every time I talk to Jake, Intune comes up continuously. So I mean, I think that's a lot of your modern work
Intune's the
work
MVP
that
of the
comes
modern
in.
workplace world. Yeah, it's just the best.
Excellent. I like it. I like it. You know what? So we have a comment in the chat that's saying right now is the shiny thing the Microsoft 365 Business Premium and Defender for Business upgrade. So do you think that's just the shiny thing right now, or do you think in your mind that this is going to be something that's going to be that longevity play?
EAs. So I can't say a lot except for that things are coming.
Say
For
that one more
me,
time. Sorry, it broke up on my
did I
side.
blip? All right.
I think so.
Yeah, internet goofs. It's going to happen. But anyways, I've signed a lot of NDAs, so I can't get into product roadmaps. Whether or not it's a shiny toy is up to you, right? I would absolutely encourage you to evaluate the options you have in front of you. If your stack's working great for you, don't change it. Then it's a shiny toy, right? But for me, particularly that business premium space with Intune and getting rid of servers is definitely not a shiny toy. We're doing a ton of that every single month. Defender, again, if it's a shiny toy, that's really up to you. If there's a need for change in your stack, I would put it on my list of things to evaluate.
Awesome. So we talked a little bit about the Azure migration funding in the very top of the show and the updates. Your team is the one that actually performs these. Can you just walk us through maybe a couple of the qualifications? I'm all tongue-tied today, guys. Qualifications to actually receiving some of this funding.
Oh, it's super simple. You got to be moving to Azure, right? And the one that trips people up is you actually have to migrate data. I don't make the rules; I just follow them. So make sure you come to us with something to migrate. And the way it works is essentially you work with your account team. They'll help you estimate how much it's going to cost for that customer to be in Azure. This does not cover the Azure fees; it covers our fees to get you there. So keep that in mind. And the way it works is basically up to 6 times what we think you're going to spend on Azure goes towards your project. That funds the mass majority of projects we do for partners. So essentially, it oftentimes ends up being no cost to you. It's a fantastic program. We've done over 200 Azure projects in the last 12 to 14 months, just helping people lift infrastructure into Azure and be successful at it is kind of the key, right? Workloads are hard to move.
Sure. No, and I mean, I think it's just such a cool resource that we are able to offer to partners right now. So absolutely take advantage of that. And like I said, it's global funding. So we've got North America. So if you've got Canada, US, we've got EMEA, there's APAC. So, I mean, reach out to these teams and they each have professional services teams local. So they're ready to assist. Now, Dom, we have Security Bootcamp coming up. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. We're going to be in Kansas City. Now, for partners, what should they expect to come out of the security boot camp? And are there going to be specific CTAs coming from that?
I'm so excited for Security Bootcamp. If you've been to bootcamp, you know there's going to be CTAs. The entire point of a bootcamp is to really get you deep into specific technical concepts in 2 days, right? So it's a lot of information in a short amount of time. So honestly, the call to action is dive a little bit deeper into what we just did because we only got 2 days with you. So we're going to drag you through it a little bit fast. So for Security Bootcamp in particular, we're really looking at that Microsoft security stack and how some of our vendors do an excellent job complementing that, either on the front end or the back end, depending on the tool. And we're not ready to announce vendors yet, but that will come out soon. And I'm really excited for who we're talking to. For me, I'm very much looking forward to watching Matt do some red teaming and some hacking on stage again. It went really well last time. That session always makes us nervous that we're going to get cut off of the resources we're using.
It does, doesn't it? But I think it's so cool to be able to like actually see him do that live, and it's definitely a different kind of experience.
It is, and he's pretty damn good at it. So if you want to see just how easy it is to break into an improperly configured cloud resource, that's your reason to come to Security Bootcamp right there.
100%. Look, I've got one more question for you, and I know we're running close on time already, but you know, we have a lot of partners that are only selling Microsoft, and I think you bring up a good point about Security Bootcamp, and it's all based around Microsoft. But what are your thoughts on diversifying your stack and being able to say, hey, you know what? I use Microsoft as my center hold, right? What are your thoughts on using other products? Or are you saying, hey, you've got to commit to one or the other?
I don't think you have to commit in either direction, right? I mean, if we look at even just in the security space, Microsoft security products versus others, I could totally use, SentinelOne for endpoints, and I could use Defender for Office for what Defender for Office does. But you really, again, it comes down to operations, right? Can I operate smoothly? Can I respond to an incident, document my response to that incident, handle the incident, triage it, and resolve it very efficiently? And can I pull data in about the regular stuff that's happening so that I can identify anomalies? Now, what I will say is I think the traditional reasons for using different vendors as a redundancy has kind of gone out the window. Like I said, the top 5 in most categories are so close to each other that it's indiscernible. So you really have to bear that in mind. I would not diversify my stack simply because I want to use different vendors. I would want to do it because there's some technical or operational reason to do so.
No, and I think that's perfect, because I think back in the day when everybody said, oh, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, I'm confident. I think you're confident Microsoft will continue to be around for the foreseeable future. But, I always think it's important that we talk about it, because sometimes we drag those things back forward and you never know.
Right. Yeah.
All right,
100%.
Dom. Well, thanks so much for joining us. What time is your show tomorrow?
My show tomorrow is at 2 p.m. Mountain Time.
2 p.m. Mountain Time.
And there's one of
Absolutely.
2 shows that's going to go down. So it's either no guest, which is unlikely.
Oh.
But we might have Scott Chasen. He's traveling tomorrow. You know how travel goes. But Scott Chasen is hopefully joining us live tomorrow on the game.
Excellent. Excellent. And hey, I heard Rob Bray say that he is going to try really hard to get Chasen on stage to stump the chump. So tomorrow, let's make sure we bring that up again, make sure that happens.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks for joining us, Dom. We will see you tomorrow on your show.
We'll see you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining Technically Unraveled. Next week, we will be back here again at 2 p.m. next Thursday. We're going to talk to Haley McSpirit over TSI. So Tech for Social Impact with Microsoft. We look forward to seeing you then. Bye, everybody.